Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Paolo Macchiarini? He is the topic of a Netflix documentary titled Bad Surgeon, Love Under the Knife. Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, including the timeline of the crime, move to a timeline of a key romantic relationship, then offer my analysis. Paolo Macchiarini was born on August 22, 1958, in Switzerland. In 1986, he graduated from medical school in Italy. This same year, he married a woman from Italy. The couple eventually had 2 children. In 1997, Paolo earned a doctorate in organ and tissue transplantation from a university in France. Starting in 1999, Paolo performed surgeries and other medical work in a few different countries like Germany, Spain, Russia, and England. In 2010, he started working as a visiting professor at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, Sweden. Paolo became well known for attempting to be a pioneer in the area of trachea transplants. He had a theory that a synthetic trachea could be successfully implanted if the trachea was covered in stem cells. Using this technique, Paolo started performing trachea transplants in 2008 and completed 8 transplants by 2013. Most of his surgeries involved transplanting tracheas which were made of plastic. All but one of his patients died. The one who survived had the synthetic trachea removed. In 2014, 4 people who had worked with Paolo accused him of falsifying research at the Karolinska Institute. An ethics committee investigated and found no wrongdoing. After an independent expert determined that Paolo committed research misconduct, the hospital refuted this claim and said that Paolo simply acted without due care. He continued working at the hospital. However, they eventually conducted another investigation. This time they found that Paolo had falsified part of his resume. In March of 2016, he was terminated from the hospital. In June of that same year, the police in Sweden started investigating Paolo, believing that he may have committed involuntary manslaughter. In October of 2017, investigators revealed that Paolo had been negligent with 4 patients, but it was impossible to prove a criminal act because the patients might have died no matter what treatment they were given. In 2019, a court in Italy determined that Paolo was guilty of abuse of office and forging documents, but he was acquitted on appeal. In 2020, investigators in Sweden decided to reopen the investigation from 2016. This time they charged Paolo with 3 counts of aggravated assault stemming from 3 surgeries he had performed. In 2022, Paolo was convicted of 1 count of causing bodily harm, which is a less serious charge than aggravated assault. He was given a suspended sentence. In 2023, an appeals court found him guilty of 3 counts of aggravated assault, and his sentence was increased to 2.5 years. Now moving to the timeline of a key romantic relationship. As I mentioned, Paolo's story was featured in a Netflix documentary titled Bad Surgeon, Love Under the Knife. The focus of this documentary was a relationship that Paolo had with an NBC producer named Benita Alexander. She was assigned to produce a show about Paolo for Dateline. When Benita was working with him, they started having a romantic relationship. Benita did this despite it being a clear violation of journalistic boundaries. The relationship progressed very quickly. In June of 2013, the couple enjoyed a magical romantic weekend in Venice, Italy. 2 weeks later, they were in Stockholm, Sweden. The couple continued to take trips all over the world. They went to places like London, Turkey, Mexico, Italy, the Bahamas, and Greece. In December 2013, Paolo gave Benita an engagement ring. It was worth about $1,000, but he claimed it was a $100,000 ring. Paolo said he could not spend New Year's Eve with Benita because he had to conduct a surgery. This seemed highly irregular to Benita, so she pressed Paolo for more information. This is when Paolo introduced a bizarre story to explain his behavior. According to him, he was part of a secret network of physicians that catered to high-profile clients like celebrities and politicians. He was on his way to see Bill and Hillary Clinton because Bill wanted him to check Hillary out. Paolo continued telling stories about how he was a physician for the rich and famous. For example, he claimed that he treated Barack Obama. There was one story about how when Diana, Princess of Wales, was mortally wounded in a collision in Paris, the authorities contacted Paolo to treat her. He said they should have contacted him sooner because he could have saved her life. Despite these outrageous and clearly false claims, Benita continued her romantic relationship with Paolo. The couple even set a date for their wedding, July 11, 2015. Paolo said that he would take care of all the planning. They were going to have a Catholic wedding that would take place in Italy. Benita wondered how this was possible. She was Episcopalian and divorced. In addition, Paolo claimed that he was divorced, although he was actually married. How would they be allowed to marry in the Catholic Church? Paolo told Benita that he would take care of it. He was a personal physician to Pope Francis. Paolo claimed that he met with the Pope in October of 2014, and the Pope said that he would marry them personally in a castle in Italy. It was important to keep this a secret because it was highly controversial. The guest list for the wedding featured several well-known people. For example, Bill and Hillary Clinton, Barack and Michelle Obama, Vladimir Putin, Kenny Rogers, Russell Crowe, and John Legend. There would be no shortage of entertainers performing at the wedding, including Elton John. In addition to all the celebrities, Paolo invited family members of patients who had died after he performed surgery on them. A few people had purchased plane tickets and made other preparations for the wedding. Up until this point, Benita and Paolo had a long-distance relationship. They now needed to make a decision about where they would live as a married couple. Paolo wanted Benita to live in Barcelona, where he lived. Ultimately, she agreed and wanted to visit his home, but the plans for visiting kept getting canceled at the last minute. Despite this, Benita left her job. Her last day was May 13, 2015. The next day, Benita received an email from a friend who indicated that the Pope was going to be in South America on July 11, 2015, the day the wedding was supposed to take place. Benita confronted Paolo about this. He blamed Vatican politics, said that things would work out, and offered more details about his secret life. He explained that the network of physicians that he belonged to was operated by the CIA, and he worked as a sniper. It was only at this point that Benita realized Paolo was lying. In July of 2015, when Benita was supposed to be at her wedding, she and two friends went to Paolo's home in Barcelona. From a distance, she saw his wife and children near his home. Benita regretted being romantically involved with the con artist surgeon. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Paolo received a very light sentence considering the crimes he committed. Some people have argued that most of Paolo's patients would have died even without the surgeries that he performed. This is true, but a few of his patients would have continued living. Many of his victims died a horrible death. One victim had 191 surgeries after the surgery that Paolo conducted and remained in the hospital for over 1,000 days before dying. Furthermore, Paolo performed surgeries on human patients without first conducting the transplants on animals. He conducted fraudulent research and knew, or should have known, that the surgeries would not be successful. Instead of 2.5 years in prison, I think Paolo should have been sentenced to at least 20 years in prison. Item number 2, Paolo was quite effective at getting the attention of Benita. She was physically attracted to him and impressed that he was a surgeon. Furthermore, she believed that he genuinely cared about people. She indicated that when she first started interacting with Paolo, their eyes locked and there was a spark. She felt like a schoolgirl. During another encounter, when they rode a motorcycle together, Benita became even more attracted to Paolo. On one occasion, when they were riding in an elevator, Paolo kissed Benita by surprise. It was kind of like a movie, and Benita thought it was extremely romantic. Life as Paolo's long-distance lover was always exciting. He frequently engaged in over-the-top romantic gestures and always purchased the best of everything. Paolo would send Benita videos where he expressed his undying love and devotion. It appears as though Paolo was engaging in love bombing. This behavior is frequently observed in individuals who have narcissistic traits, like being manipulative and charismatic. Item number 3, why did it take so long for Benita to realize that Paolo was a con artist? Should it have taken this long, or was Paolo's behavior obvious? In my opinion, there were many opportunities to detect that Paolo was lying. Just a few examples. He claimed to be part of a secret network of physicians that catered to celebrities, including former presidents and a pope. He planned a wedding that was against the rules of the Catholic Church and claimed the pope would take care of it personally. The wedding was supposed to take place in a castle. He wanted the wedding to remain a secret. Celebrities from all over the world would be attending the wedding. Paolo supplied excuses when Benita wanted to visit his home in Barcelona. When he was accused of wrongdoing, Paolo said that people wanted to take him down because they were envious, and he regularly used 4 or 5 different cell phones. As with many cases involving romantic con artists, this story started with an unwise move on the part of the victim. Benita knew that she should not have become involved with Paolo because she was producing a story about him, but she chose to anyway. At some level, Benita must have known that Paolo was a con artist. She just did not want to face reality. This is supported by Benita's own statement. She said, quote, "I just didn't want to put 2 and 2 together. I didn't want Paolo to not be the man I believed him to be. I didn't want the fairy tale to end," unquote. The problem with fairy tales isn't that they end. Rather, it is how they never had a beginning. Benita deceived herself into believing she was living a fairy tale. Paolo was never telling the truth. In this sense, Paolo offered Benita exactly what he knew she could not resist. He was a proficient romance con artist. Item number 4, why did Paolo commit crimes and build a fake romance? He must have known that his lies were unsustainable and that ultimately he would be caught. Here's what I think happened in this case. This is just a theory, my opinion. Paolo was irresponsible, excitement-seeking, self-centered, sadistic, manipulative, dominant, fearless, charismatic, overconfident, grandiose, and believed himself to be special. Even though he was moderately successful for quite some time before derailing his career, he wanted to be more. Paolo dreamed of being some type of ultimate action hero who was a combination of a surgeon, sniper, celebrity, and James Bond. He required an excessive amount of admiration and needed people to be impressed with his status and accomplishments. His surgical exploits were designed to position him as a caring and compassionate hero, but he never really cared about his victims. Paolo was not interested in money, rather he was trying to satisfy his ego. Perhaps some part of him felt inferior, and he overcompensated to a ridiculous degree. No lie was too big, too obvious, or too unbelievable for Paolo. Now moving to my final thoughts. The case of Paolo Macchiarini can be summarized in this way. A slick super surgeon, showcasing a shady CV, seduced a producer who should have been suspicious. They spanned the seas, schemed a swanky wedding, and shared stunning aspirations of a splendid life of solidarity. The smooth surgeon claimed to be a CIA sniper in a secret society of physicians who sustained celebrities. Not surprisingly, the suave surgeon was a swindler who secured a short sentence, sealing his saga of deceit. Those are my thoughts in the case of Paolo Macchiarini. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.